asked me about a test I took. But, I think that's really telling of she doubled down, mocking Crockett as they understand the importance of standing for what democracy is and making sure that it does not fall by the wayside. They understand that we have a Timu Hitler in the White House right now that thinks that he is going to become the dictator of the United States. It was an ordinary closed door or meeting, or so it seemed. The room was filled with policymakers, staffers, and lawmakers all gathered to discuss new policy initiative. But the moment Ivanka Trump sat across from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, the atmosphere shifted. A quiet tension had been building between the two women for months. Snide comments, veiled insults, and public jabs that were only getting sharper. Ivanka, poised and polished as ever, leaned back in her chair. I think balance by its very nature is something that's not sustainable. The scale always tips in one direction. And with a smug smile, she casually threw out a challenge. "Maybe we should settle this with an IQ test," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "That way, we'll finally know who really deserves to be in this room." The room froze. Staffers exchanged glances, unsure of how this would play out. Everyone knew the stakes were higher than just a policy discussion. This was personal, and Ivanka had just thrown the gauntlet. But Jasmine Crockett didn't flinch. Without hesitation, she leaned forward, her tone cutting through the air with surgical precision. "An IQ test? Honey, I don't need a test to prove what everyone in here already knows. I've been outsmarting your daddy's lawyers. Listen, Donald Trump is a piece of okay, we know that. Yes, he is. He is, gasps echoed. Ivanka's smile faltered, her carefully constructed composure beginning to crack. She tried to laugh it off, but her voice betrayed her, and the tension in her shoulders was unmistakable. Jasmine didn't press any further. She let the silence linger, letting the room absorb her words. The response wasn't just a verbal retort. It was a masterstroke of political warfare. In 31 seconds, Ivanka's trap had backfired. Jasmine Crockett had exposed her not as a political rival, but as someone who had never known a day of struggle, someone whose intelligence was overshadowed by her inherited wealth. The room, which had once buzzed with nervous anticipation, was now electric with disbelief. The moment that had started as a subtle challenge was now the internet's latest obsession. I mean, when you have low IQ people like Crockett, she's a low, very low IQ person. So, unfortunately, we have someone that is occupying the White House, and as far as I'm concerned, he is an enemy to the United States. 31 seconds. Number sign brains over privilege. Game over. Social media exploded with memes, jokes, and one-liner. Ivanka had unwittingly become the punchline of the political world. Comedians couldn't resist. Stephen Colbert quipped, "They know. Also, I didn't know this far north you had a South Dakota. Guess what? You have one. Doesn't make any sense. It's north, but it's south at the same time. I don't get it." Ivanka challenged Jasmine Crockett to an IQ test and lost in half a minute. Honestly, that's still longer than her dad lasts in most deposition. The jokes kept rolling, and Ivanka's reputation seemed to unravel with every passing minute. What should have been a forgettable policy panel had turned into Ivanka's worst viral moment. The media, from MSNBC to Fox News, couldn't escape the clip. "Favorite thing you have in common with your father? Either real estate or golf Donald with your daughter." Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that far. Even conservative commentators were reluctantly admitting that Ivanka had made a colossal mistake. The polished image Ivanka had spent years cultivating, the intelligent, capable daughter of a president, now appeared hollow, exposed as a symbol of privilege more than merit. Privately, Ivanka's frustration boiled over. Reportedly, she stormed out of the room, her composed smile gone, replaced by anger. Why didn't anyone warn me she'd come at me like that? She snapped at her aides. The fury was unmistakable. She had walked into the trap, and now her carefully managed image was at risk. Back at the Trump family compound, tensions rose. Donald Trump, never one to mince words, reportedly dismissed his daughter's humiliation with a wave. "You got beat in 30 seconds. That's weak," he grumbled. Jared Kushner, ever the strategist, advised Ivanka to lay low, to let the media storm pass without further fueling the fire. But Ivanka wasn't ready to retreat. She wasn't about to let this public humiliation stand. She wanted revenge and fast. Behind the scenes, Ivanka and her allies in conservative media began to work on a counterattack. The plan to dig into Jasmine Crockett's past. The narrative was clear. Paint her as unhinged, too radical, even dangerous. It wasn't about proving Ivanka's intelligence. It was about discrediting Jasmine in the eyes of the public. Opportunity to again flex on MAGA and let them know that I will always be smarter than you. I actually wanted to be an anesthesiologist. So, I've always been really good at math and science. There was an article that just came out that said that actually the most educated demographic in this country right now is black women. Instead of attacking Ivanka directly, she fired off a tweet that set the internet ablaze. Funny thing about IQ tests, they measure memory too. It was a subtle dig, but one that carried weight. It was a challenge, a reminder that Jasmine had the upper hand. And if Ivanka wanted to keep playing dirty, Jasmine had more to bring to the